He made $180,000 a year, vice president of sales, corner office, company car. His name was on a plaque. And on a Tuesday morning in October, he couldn't pay his rent. Not because he lost his job, not because of some medical emergency, not because the economy crashed. He couldn't pay his rent because he had been earning for 15 years and building nothing. His name was Derek. I'm not going to use his real name, but I want you to understand. Derek was not stupid. Derek was not reckless. Derek was exactly the kind of person you look at and think, that guy has it figured out. He drove a BMW. He lived in a 3,500 square foot house in a suburb outside of Dallas. He took 2 vacations a year. His kids were in private school. His LinkedIn said top performer 3 years in a row. And when Derek sat down with a financial advisor at age 47, for the first time in his life, the advisor looked at him across the desk and asked a simple question. What's your net worth? Derek smiled. He thought about the BMW. He thought about the house. He thought about the bonus he'd just gotten. And then the smile faded, because Derek had never actually asked himself that question. When they ran the numbers, here's what they found. His house had $40,000 in equity. After 15 years of payments, his 401k had $68,000 in it. He had $2,200 in a checking account, and he had $114,000 in debt. Credit cards, a car note, a home equity line he'd used to redo his kitchen. At 47 years old with nearly $2 million in career earnings behind him. Derek's net worth was negative. He had been running on a treadmill for 15 years. Lots of motion, zero distance. And here's the part that should scare you. Derek is not rare. We live in a country where we are taught, almost from birth, that income is the goal, get good grades, get a good job, get a good salary. Nobody sits you down at 22 years old and says, hey, your paycheck is just raw material. What matters is what you build with it. So we do what feels natural. We earn more, and we spend more. There's actually a term for this. Economists call it lifestyle inflation. As soon as our income goes up, our expenses go up with it. Sometimes faster. You get a raise. You upgrade the apartment. You get a promotion. You upgrade the car. You hit 6 figures. You upgrade everything. And at every single step, your bank account looks roughly the same because the spending always catches up. Here's the brutal math nobody talks about. If you earn $100,000 a year and spend $98,000 of it, you're building wealth at the same rate as someone earning $35,000 a year and spending $33,000. Your salary doesn't build wealth. Your gap builds wealth. The distance between what you earn and what you spend, that gap, and only that gap, is the raw material of financial freedom. But we've been sold a different story our whole lives. We've been sold the idea that looking wealthy is wealth. The watch, the car, the house in the right zip code, the vacations on Instagram. That's not wealth, that's a performance. And the terrifying thing is, you can perform wealth your entire life and die broke. So how does this happen? How does someone like Derek, smart, hardworking, successful by every outward measure, end up with a negative net worth? There are 3 traps, and I want you to listen carefully because I promise you, you are probably in at least one of them right now. Trap number 1. The subscription creep. You don't have one big spending problem. You have 47 small ones. Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Spotify, Amazon Prime. The gym you haven't been to since February, the meditation app, the meal kit service, the software you pay for annually and forget about. Individually, none of these feel like money. Together, the average American household spends over $900 a month on subscriptions and recurring charges they can't accurately name if you ask them. That's $10,800 a year, silently bleeding out of your account every single year. And here's the insidious part. These companies designed it that way. They made cancellation inconvenient. They made the charges small enough to feel ignorable. They engineered the friction so you'd never quite get around to stopping. You are being harvested. Quietly. Consistently. Every month. Trap number 2. The status tax. Every income level has its own version of what people like us do. At $50,000, you drive a decent used car and eat out occasionally. At $100,000, you drive new and eat out regularly. At $200,000, you drive European and eat at places with reservation wait lists. This is the status tax, the invisible toll you pay to maintain the identity that matches your income bracket. And it's not always conscious. That's what makes it deadly. You don't sit down and decide to pay a status tax. You just do what people around you do. You buy what signals that you belong. You spend to fit in with your peer group, your neighborhood, your profession. This is why doctors are often broke. Lawyers are often broke. Tech workers are often broke. Not because they don't earn enough, but because they're surrounded by other high earners, and keeping up with that world is astronomically expensive. The status tax is the reason a teacher with $60,000 a year can sometimes have more saved than a director making $200,000. The teacher never had a status to maintain. Trap number 3, the one-paycheck margin. This is the trap that makes everything else catastrophic. Studies consistently show that somewhere between 54% and 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Not the poor. All Americans, including the ones making good money. When you have no financial buffer, a single disruption, a car repair, a medical bill, a layoff, a slow month, doesn't set you back. It unravels you. You go to the credit card, you go to the home equity line, you go to the thing with 24% interest that you'll spend 4 years trying to pay off while the balance barely moves. And now you're not just not building wealth. You're actively moving backward. You're working for your past self's bad decisions. This is how Derek ended up where he was. Not one catastrophic mistake, but 15 years of small ones, compounded by a life with no margin. So what actually changes things? I want to be very clear. I'm not going to tell you to stop drinking coffee. I'm not going to tell you to never eat out or live like a monk. The shift is conceptual. It happens in your head before it happens in your bank account. The shift is this. You stop treating income as the finish line, and you start treating it as the starting line. Your paycheck is not the reward. Your paycheck is the raw material. The reward comes later, and only if you build something with what you have. Here's what that actually looks like in practice. Step 1. Know your number, not your salary, your net worth, assets minus liabilities. Write it down. If you've never done this, do it this week. Not knowing is how you end up at 47 with Derek's problem. Step 2. Find the gap and protect it. Before you spend a single dollar in a new month, move your savings. Not at the end of the month, the beginning. Pay yourself first, even if it's $200, even if it feels small. The habit is more important than the amount in the early stages. Step 3. Kill the status tax. This one is hard because it's social. But ask yourself honestly, what are you spending on to impress people who aren't paying your bills? What are you buying to belong to a club that doesn't actually care about your financial survival? The car you're leasing to look successful is costing you the actual business you could have started. Step 4. Build the buffer. 3 to 6 months of expenses, liquid, in a high-yield savings account. Not invested, not locked up. Accessible. This buffer is not a luxury. It is the thing that keeps 1 bad month from becoming 5 bad years. Here's what nobody tells you when you get your first real job. A salary is a rented life. As long as you need that paycheck to survive, as long as missing 2 or 3 of them would destroy you, you don't have freedom. You have the appearance of freedom. Real freedom is when your money works harder than you do, when the assets you've built generate income whether you show up or not, when you could walk away from a bad situation, a toxic boss, a dead-end role, a city that doesn't work for your family, and the world doesn't end. That's what wealth actually is. Not a number, not a neighborhood, not a car. Options, time, the ability to say no. Derek eventually turned things around. It took 4 years of uncomfortable choices, downsizing the house, selling the BMW, saying no to a lot of things his old self would have said yes to automatically. But at 51, for the first time in his adult life, he had a positive net worth. He had a real emergency fund. He had assets that were slowly, quietly compounding in his favor. He told me something I haven't been able to stop thinking about. I wasn't broke because I didn't make enough. I was broke because I never stopped to ask what all of it was actually for. So I'm asking you that question right now. What is your income actually for? If you don't have an answer, a real answer, not a vague one, then you're in danger of doing what Derek did, earning for decades, building nothing. The salary isn't the problem. The story you've been told about the salary, that's the problem. Change the story. If this hit you somewhere real, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more of this. And drop in the comments. What's one thing you're going to change this week? Because the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is right now.